Hello everybody in YouTube land and everyone watching live on Twitch and I guess also YouTube now, which is kind of cool. This is the re-ranking of the Drowned City player cards. If you don't know, I have this kind of usual tradition when a set comes out. I rank the player cards on what I think their initial power level is, or alternatively what I consider to be their hype level, I call it. And then I rate them again a year later after playing with the cards to see how they settled. I did this in March 2025 last year, but then I went on hiatus in 2026, and now I'm finally here to actually do this and get this, out here. So we're going to be starting with the level 0 cards for all the classes in the neutral. Then there's going to be a video coming up in the future that's going to be all the XP cards in the neutral. And then we're going to do a final video, which is going to be all the specialist cards. So I'm going to rank them all on a scale from 1 to 5. And in the past, I would rank this with Twitch chat. I would have Twitch chat also rank the cards. I think what I'm going to do instead of doing this live on as part of the process while I'm recording this video, I think what I'm going to do instead is have Twitch chat, or have our viewers, our patrons, vote for them afterwards, and then I'll put them in the spreadsheet after that. I think that's just going to be like a better thing to do for me and for handling this going forward. But there will still be a way for players to do that kind of thing if you are interested. So just keep your eyes open for that on the Patreon, the YouTube, and the Discord channel especially. So let's talk about our tiers. 5 are staples, one of the best. So powerful, they're kind of just like you have to find a reason not to play them. Or alternatively, they are like they're so good that they kind of push out other things in that area. 4.5 are very, very powerful cards, but not to the level that I would consider to be staple or rather unhealthy for the game. 4 is just, this is like a great card. It's not too strong, it's not like weak, it's very universal, it's very good, it's a very powerful, great card. 3.5 is when we're starting to get to like the very good tier. This card is just like very, very good. It's not to the point of great, but it is just like a nice, efficient card. 3 is like where in a perfect world, 3 and 2.5 is where I want the majority of my cards, right? Where they are good cards, they are workhorses in the decks that they belong in. They require other pieces to really shine, or alternatively have some sort of limitation or restriction that stops them from being just like too fucking good. And then there are broken down into kind of like good at 3.0 and fine for 2.5. 2 are the cards that require a lot of work to get going, or alternatively are just kind of starting to get a little bit stinky, so we don't really interact with them too much. 2s are like when we start to get to cards that are like underperforming when you put them in your deck, or ultimately you find that they're not really carrying the weight that they should have as player cards. 1.5 is now when we start getting to the cards that I consider to be outright bad. Cards that I think are just like not good at what they do, and there needs to be like some sort of reason that you're running it over any other card that is available to you that is like not bad. And then 1.0, these are cards that I generally consider to be unplayable. I think you can play any card in Arkham Horror. I think that's just the reality of the situation. You can run any card in Arkham, but there are cards that are bad, and I find that most of the time, if people are running them, they're running them because they don't know they're bad. They're trying to be cool by playing the cards that are bad, or they're doing some sort of challenge run and it's the only cards they have available to them. So those are kind of like the times where I will understand why people play bad cards, but I generally view them to be kind of mid. Okay. So, one thing as well is like cards that like, I've had this a lot where like I rank a card like a 2.5 or a 2, and then someone says, oh, but it's really good in this one deck that requires all of these cards to get the job done, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's why it's a 2 or a 2.5, right? Because it's not good on its own, it's good with other pieces, and generally cards that require a lot of different things to get moving, sit in that kind of area for me personally. What we're going to do is after we rank all these cards, I'm going to put them into the spreadsheet and we're going to kind of see how my thoughts have changed from the last one. I'm not going to look at the stuff in advance, so I'm not going to know, like, have that kind of bias where I was like, ooh, I rated this card this last time and I want to kind of hit that threshold again. I'm going to just go in completely blind looking at it after. So, Crowbar, 3 cost, exhaust, crowbar, investigate. This investigation attempt uses fist instead of book. As an action, exhaust, crowbar, fight. You get +2 fist for this attack. Now, I know there's going to be people who are going to say, but Justin, this is really good in solo. I don't think solo is real. I know there's people, there's Daniel, I love the guy. He plays solo, but you know what? I actually don't think he does. I think he just, like, there's another player, like there's another investigator also playing the game with him. We just can't see him. It's like an imaginary, like, figment of Nathaniel Cho's imagination, for example, because I know they did this with they had like a series where they were playing Crowbar. So, like, I personally don't view solo as a thing. More power to you if you like it, but I just don't believe it exists. That's just kind of like how I am as a player. I'm not using solo in my analysis here. My analysis for 2 to 3 to 4 players on standard difficulty is kind of like my usual play pattern that I have for this game. So all of these card analysis are coming with that. It's very nice for Crowbar to hear to kind of get that baseline established. So I think Crowbar is a fine card. I think it is, we should get this, can I get this in portrait mode? Yeah, please give me portrait. There we go. I think Crowbar is completely fine. It's nice for like flex play on player counts. I think that realistically though, the hand slots, especially in the Guardian, are like not worth the investigation attempt that this provides. Like, yeah, in theory, this can get you 1 clue around, or when there's downtime, you know, like you can just like sneak in a few clues here and there. But I ultimately find that clue gain in the Guardian class is better done when you are combining them with like scene of the crime, like those kind of effects, right? Where it's about Guardians, like using enemies for the value that comes with them. Like, I think that that's just like a better place for Guardians to be for their clue getting potential. So you might as well embrace that and just like keep your hand slots for cards that I think are actively like powerful. I think a big thing as well is that I think it's just not worth 3 resources. Like the fight on the exhaust for both the fight and the investigate. I understand why the exhaust is on the investigate, because it forces the Guardians to not break their color pie, and I think it's a pretty alright way of doing that. And I think it's like it's kind of, I'm not going to say elegant, because I don't think it's elegant, but I think it's like tightly designed, right? But the exhaust on the fight is a little bit kind of crazy. Like, I know it has +2 fist, but just like let Guardians fight at +1 fist without exhausting for like no damage boost. I think like that's the rate. Like, I think that it's like slightly above rate in the investigate ability, but slightly below rate in the fight ability. So it's like, why would I play that when I can just play like on rate investigate cards and like good on rate or above rate fighting cards, right? Like, that's kind of like where Crowbar fumbles for me personally. E4 is 43 months of the golden table. Thank you for your support. Much appreciated. Next card here is the Remington Model 1858. This is the level 0 version. 3 costs, uses 2 ammo as an action, spend 1 ammo, fight. You get +1 fist for this attack. This attack deals +1 damage. As a reaction, when Remington Model 1858 leaves play, immediately trigger the above action ability, ignoring all costs. I think that this gun is also kind of like, I think it's to me somewhere in here. I think I'm going to actually put this one in the 2. And it's kind of weird where I was not expecting this card to actually underperform, but it turns out in the Guardian class, 3 resources for 2 ammo is just not the rate that you want to be paying, right? The upgraded one, I agree, is very good. I think the upgraded gun, like the upgraded Remington, is a very powerful firearm. But like this card especially, in comparison to the new M1911, is kind of just like ridiculous. Like at this point now, like the M1911 has kind of just turned the Remington Model 1858 to actually like below the value you should expect with your firearms, right? And it was only one expansion that change needed to get there, right? And this is like, I think I can't even like put it into words about just like, yes, in theory, this gun has 3 shots, right? But it already sucks to miss with firearms, right? Like it really sucks to miss with firearms, but when you have like only 2 shots on your gun before you start requiring another effect to make it better, right? It kind of just means that the Remington Model 1858-0 is just like not worth it in comparison to the upgraded version. I agree it is very cool with the custom grip as an extra M1911. I think that's really like a good use of it, but I think ultimately, I think we can all agree, chat, that if you're playing the 1858, you're looking at either upgrading it into the like level 4 version ASAP, or alternatively, it's better used, like if you are a Remington Model 1858 deck, it might actually be better to just play a gun, even like an extra 45 automatic in Legacy, instead of the Remington in your level 0 deck, just because 2 ammo is just not worth it, right? Chat is all on here. What the hell? It's a train. Look out! Chat's all with me on this, where it's like, it's just like, I think if we talked about these cards before the M1911, I think that the Remington would be in 2.5, but I think because it's already outclassed, it's just like, I don't think Remington like itself is a bad card, but just like now the cost and the ammo is just not worth the price that you put into it. Book of War, Sun Tzu's Legacy. 4-cost asset, takes up the hand slot, uses 3 secrets. As a reaction, after you play a tactic event, spend 1 secret and exhaust the Book of War. When your turn ends, returns that event to your hand. So I remember this card was super hyped up when Drowned City came out, and then I never saw anybody play it. Like no one ever brought it to a patron game day that I can recall, and I usually gauge that as a sort of metric on if a card is actually good or not. Like, I'm able to find from the patrons and the viewers that I play with what card is like, what cards are actually like the community is drawn to because they're played a lot, right? Like, for example, that's how I know Carson Sinclair is good and also fun to play, because he kind of does everything. I think, yeah, the biggest gate for this card is the 4 cost is actually very expensive. I think the effect is very powerful, and I think this is the closest that Guardian in a while has come to a card that we would deem to be kind of unfair, right? The Guardian class is notoriously a class that is very fair, and it's not often that they sort of kind of bend it and get, like, in this case, recursion, right? So I think that this is a very powerful effect. But is the effect ultimately worth the 4 cost when everything else in the Guardian class is worth 4 cost? So I guess like I guess it comes down to it is like tactic resource cards. Like if there's good ones of those that you want to recur, is that the way to do it? Is recurring economy really that powerful? Like, that's an interesting thing that I'm very curious to see. Overall, though, I do think that this is a good card. I'm going to put it in 3. Like, it is recursion, right? Like, recursion is powerful. You find the right tactics, you find the right home, and this is a strong option, right? But I think that this card is less universally good in comparison to what I think the initial hype levels were. I'm actually very curious, especially to see like chat's original ranking for this card when we check it out at the end of this video, because I remember chat being super high on this card back when it was like, just like the community was generally like, this card's like gonna be a game changer. And I think that ultimately this card did have a positive impact, but I think that it's slightly above rate what you expect. Like, can we be real? If this card was in the Seeker class or the Rogue class, it would cost 2, right? Like, Guardian has that extra Guardian tax on all their cards that I think they need to stop putting on their cards, because I think that this is already limited by slot, secrets, and then cost. I think it's a little bit over the top. Prime for action, 0 cost event, play only as your first turn, play a firearm asset from your hand, reducing its cost by 2, then you may play an upgrade event from your hand, attaching it to that asset if able. So, this card's kind of stinky. I like the idea of the Uncage the Soul for guns, right? I think that that's an alright idea. Like, this is like an economy card for the Guardian class, you really only need to pay it for the top part. But then you may play an upgrade event from your hand, attaching it to that asset if able. Some people pointed out when this card first came out that the majority of the upgrade events were fast already or already fast. So you're not really getting that compression with it, right? Like, maybe it's like, maybe this card would have been better if it was like play a firearm asset from your hand, reducing its cost by 2. Then you may play an upgrade event from your hand, attaching it to that asset if able, reducing its cost by 2 as well, like, or even if it's cost by 1. So you're ultimately saving 3 resources from this, even if they're fast. Like, then we might have been looking at a prime for action that is actually like prime for action, as opposed for primed for stain in the binder, right? I tried this card out a few times in a variety of gun decks, and most of the time, like, I wouldn't keep it in my mulligan, right? Like, that's kind of like the downside that comes with it, right? Where in your gun decks, you need to find a gun. So if I'm looking at 5 cards in my hand and no gun, but prime for action is one of them, I am not keeping prime for action, because then if I don't find the gun, I've like wasted that card. It's just kind of like taking up space in my hand. And if I do find the gun, I know I took a risk to keep that card in my hand. And like mulligan on odds, I talked about this in a previous video. More aggressive mulligans will lead to more game wins, and this card just doesn't pass the mulligan test, which is crazy for an economy card like this. I think that overall it's just a bit too slow. If we got some upgrades that are not fast, it could be better, but at the same time, I think Astute said it perfectly in chat. I need 3 cards in my hand to do this fully in a Guardian. Guardians just, like, don't have the draw power to get there, because again, they're kind of the fair class, and their idea is their cards are expensive. I think this could have been, I think baseline, even if it was like not the upgrade thing, it's like play an asset from your hand, reducing its cost by 3, then we're cooking. I don't know. I'm going to put this in the 1.5. Ready for anything. 1 cost event, play only as your first action, draw 1 card, 2 cards instead. If you drew an enemy this round, then heal 1 horror. This action does not provoke attacks of opportunity. I'm curious to see if Travis would play this card, because this is a card that Travis said he always wanted in Guardian, but we actually haven't played that much ARKHAM to the extent that we did like 5 years ago, where we would like grind through every card. I think it's just a consequence of us playing more games, like we're playing more games on our Wednesdays. But I think that I haven't seen this card played that much. I never really touched it, even though like this was a card that was like the Guardians class would love this. And I think it's just that, like, I mean, like, I think in Legacy, a lot of the players that I've seen play always go to Hallowed Mirror as kind of like their source of horror healing in the Guardian class, because like Hallowed Mirror is a pretty alright card. Like, I think it's good. And I'm curious about that, like, kind of like the restriction of play only as your first action, draw 1 cards, 2 instead if you drew an enemy this round, then heal 1 horror. Like, I wonder if this also was like, if it was like, I wonder if this card would have been better if it was like heal 1 horror, 2 horror if you drew an enemy this round, then draw 1 card, as opposed to the draw 2. Like, maybe if the horror healing was better, but like the replacement, like the idea was the card just cantripped itself, which means like you just played it to replace itself, right? Trace is saying the exact same thing, so like minds, right? I think that that's like, No, you don't know. You don't. As long as you just draw a card, you just draw a card. As long as like you do the first part in some way that then triggers. Yeah, I'm not dropping any frames, Necrotoaster. So I recommend like refreshing. It might help. Yeah, I'm agree with you, Dice Gods. I think that is like both Trace and you have said that like this card probably would have been better if it was heal 2 horror and draw 1. I think that like horror healing that cantrips itself, or like just healing in general that cantrips itself, is like pretty legit. I think that's like pretty legit. And seeing this the opposite way, I think would have been better. So I think this actually, like what you were saying as well, Dice Gods. I think that this card was kind of brought down by the Marion support, right? Where this card draw, Marion wants to play events, so let's give her more card draw, and like the Guardian more card draw. But I think Guardian essentially cantripping itself is pretty alright card draw for these sort of effects. I think this card's not like terrible. I'm going to put it in a 2.0 though. Not a stellar showing from Guardian on the level 0 card so far. I do think, though, that Drowned City was a lower power level than... like, ideally, I want, like, the average power ranking, for me personally, to be, like, a 3 when this is, when it's done. But right now, Guardian's not bringing the sauce. And they're not going to bring the sauce. With Hard Boiled, this is an innate skill max, 1 committed per skill test. Hard Boiled gains Wild Fist for each successful attack you perform this round, and it has a Fist and a Wild. I think that this card is kind of a tech card, right? Where, when did the Guardians eat good anyway? I think the Nat Cho deck... No, that was just good for Nat Cho. When did Guardians eat good? I think, was it Hemlock? There was one expansion where I think Guardians were like in the top 2 classes, but I think this card is more of like a tech card, where you bring it to help on tests that aren't fight tests, which is a little bit strange to say, right? I think that like if I could have designed this card, I would have made it so that instead of Hard Boiled gaining Fist Wild for each successful attack you perform this round, I think it would be Hard Boiled gains Wild for each successful attack you performed this round, right? I think that would like really embrace this card as the tech card that I think it actually is supposed to be. But overall, there's not much to say about Hard Boiled. It's hard to see the use case for it because, again, I think this is actually a tech card. You bring this in to battle treacheries that stay in play, or alternatively like campaigns where you know you're going to need to make a lot of tests, right? Like I think, like for example, this is a pretty good loop for like Undimensioned and Union and Disillusion, where you use, I mean actually also Undimensioned and Unseen for Union and Disillusion, where you like you play this with you play this like after you fight an enemy and then do a circle test, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that like this card exists more for. Like I see a world where I bring Butterfly, the Butterfly swords to Union and Disillusion, kill an enemy with like 3 attacks, play this on the circle test and get, what is that, +2, 4, 6, 8, right? But overall, I'm going to give it a 1.5. It's very, very, very below rate. All right, on to the secret cards, and we have Alton O'Connell, 3-cost, the Ghost Hunter. Allied Detective Reporter, 2/1 soak. You get +1 foot as a reaction after you succeed a skill test by exactly 3. Place 1 resource in Alton O'Connell as evidence. As a lightning bolt, exhaust Alton O'Connell and spend X evidence. Discover one, clear your location. X is the shroud value of your location. Let's drink some water out of my Royal Caribbean Cruise cup. Okay, man. Seeker really got like 100 assets and 1 event for their thing this last set. That's kind of crazy. All right, Alton O'Connell. I think he's like perfectly fine. Like I think he's just like perfectly mid. I've used him to good effect. I've seen people use him to good effect. He's not exactly like a banger of a card, but if this dude gets you like 2 or 3 clues in a scenario, he's kind of done his job. assuming that you're also using your foot for things, right? Like, I feel like you need to find some use for your foot to make this guy really actually, like, I think, great, right? But I think that I mean, there is the new unflappable cards. Like, I think that, like, Seeker are going secondary into foot value, like, into, like, boosting their agility, which I think is, I think is, like, pretty neat. And I think that, like, Alton O'Connell is, like, I think he has, like, the potential to be, like, a legacy, not all-star, but, like, a performer in legacy in a variety of different decks. Like, there's Precision, which I imagine they're going to keep boosting because we just had the Dorothy Simmons show up, right? Like Precision isn't going anywhere for the Seeker class. It's kind of one of their things. It's just a matter of how much they're able to manipulate things, because I feel like with Alton O'Connell, you want to have manipulation for your Precision to really, like, make it sing. So I think that I'm very curious to see. But, like, any potential for free clues is something that you need to watch out for in Legacy. So I think this guy, he could improve over time. But overall, he's just fine. I think that there's, like, places where he has a good home. And it's just a matter of how much you go all in on making him really sing. Now, Artistic Inspiration is probably a 4. This one's probably a 4. 2-cost asset. It's a limit 1 per investigator. Uses 1 inspiration. As a lightning bolt, exhaust Artistic Inspiration to discard 1 card from your hand. Replenish 1 inspiration on this card. As a reaction, after revealing chaos tokens for a skill test you're performing, spend 1 inspiration. You get +1 or -1 skill value for this test. So we have some token manipulation, and this is one of the few things. Sorry, like, I guess, like, precision manipulation. The thing about this one is that this is one of the few that allow you to do it pass or fail, right? So, like, that is a very powerful effect in comparison to some of the other precision manipulation cards, which already are pretty good cards. So, like, adding to the fact that this is essentially half a lucky, I personally think this is kind of a color pie bend. I think that, like, Seekers should not be allowed to do this pass or fail. I feel like Seekers should only be allowed to do this after pass or fail, right? Like, they should, like, only be able to do this on passes, right? Like, they should not be able to actively get half a lucky for just a card from their hand, right? It's one of those things where, like, having the ability to just also replenish by discarding a card is very good, because, like, one thing I want you to do the next time you play Artistic Inspiration, everybody, is pay attention to how many times you actively replenish this card. Because I'll promise you, it's probably only going to be like 2 or 3 times a scenario. And that's kind of a free cost for ultimately, like, turning 2 to 3 tests that you needed to pass into successes. And that's a very powerful effect for only 3 cards. I don't think this card is, like, unfairly busted. I still think it's a little bit of a bend, but I think that ultimately the cost is pretty reasonable. It probably also shouldn't have had a while. There's a few things that goes over it, but I think that as a whole, it's very easy to pass tests, and this is, like, kind of your security for passing tests. And if that's the one you choose in your deck, that's good. But you also, like, you can win a scenario without Artistic Inspiration, so, like, it's not that good. But when you have the right deck for it, like, I personally don't run Artistic Inspiration unless I have some sort of precision I want to take advantage of. But there's also nothing wrong with running this as your kind of, like, Mythos phase security. I think that's a nice place for this card as well. Dial of the Ancients. So these are always the tough ones to rate, because it's like, I usually always kind of rate this card as, like, what's the reward for paying them off versus how easy it is to pay them, like, to finish them off, right? So Limit 1 per deck uses 0 charges, takes up the accessory slot. As a reaction after enemy location is evaded, place 1 charge on Dial of Ancients. Then, if there are 4 more charges on Dial of Ancients, record in your campaign log that you've calculated the Day of Reckoning. So you get no reward for this one. You get no reward for this one. However, with that said, some of the upgraded ones are actually like pretty legit cards. This one is kind of hard to translate. I think I'm just going to put this one in the 2.5. Just because, again, these are kind of like hard to, I mean, like maybe 2, just because there's no reward. But these ones, like, I brush past these ones. These ones don't really exist because the upgraded version are like the real card. This is like the mini card. Forensics Kit, 3-cost asset, takes up the hand slot. Item tool Science, uses 4 supplies. As an action, spend 1 supply, investigate. For this investigation, you may use foot instead of book. You get +1 skill value. If succeed and there is an exhausted enemy or location, heal 1 horror. For me, personally, the only, like, use case I have for this for myself was I played it in a limited collection Lucius deck for just a little bit of horror healing. And that is... It was fine. I can see a use case for people like, I mean, like people be like, the heal horror, they think Carolyn. But I think overall, this card actually is pretty... It's below rate. I'm going to put this one in the 2. It's like, I don't want to, I'm not spending 3 resources for 4+1 investigates, right? I think that, like, I'll just take a magnifying glass for that, right? Like, that's kind of like what it is. And I wish that the designers would look at a card like this and, like, when they're designing it, be like, rather than make this just for Lucius, how can we make this for other people as well, right? And I think that, like, they could make this card a little bit better because of that, because they can always, like, make it have less supplies, make it cost a little bit more, right? And I think that overall, it doesn't really, like, have that same impact that the card could have, because it seems so hyper fixated on one investigator, and it ultimately means that, like, no one's gonna really want to play this card because of that. Mortar and Pestle, 2-cost asset, uses 0 resources. Resource on Mortar and Pestle may be spent to pay for spell cards as a reaction. After you discover 1 or more clues, exhaust Mortar and Pestle, place 1 resource on it from the token pool. So, there is... I was actually, like... I liked this card when it was spoiled. That comes from the fact that, like, when I see this card, I saw economy that I didn't need to, like, spend actions beyond the first one, and then I could advance the game. I only played this card once. I played it in a Trish deck that looped the green return to your hand. You can play them on locations spell event, and I actually it performed very well. But after that, like, Mortar and Pestle never really had a home after that. This card really should have been a Mystic card, right? I think that, like, that is the biggest issue with the Mortar and Pestle. Like, I don't even think the 2 upfront cost is that big of a deal, because it's like you're getting the effect, like, you're paying the 2 to being so that you never have to play an economy card again, right? Like, you're paying 2 right now to advance the game, and then get cards 5 turns from now for free, right? Like, I don't view the 2 upfront cost as, like, a cost in comparison to the way that people who I think are worse at card analysis do, right? Because I do think that what this card does, that 2 cost that you're paying, is to change the way that you play the game in your favor. to give you the need to no longer play. Like, this is then you play this on the first turn, and then you have the economy for the rest of the scenario, right? Like, I think the big sticking point for this is that, like, it's a card that is here for Agatha Crane, right? And, like, the card is also here, I guess, in theory for the Mystic Seeker crossover, but I think that design is better spent giving these effects to the classes that already want them, right? And, like, I see a world where, like, that I think that would have just been so much just nicer. And I think that as a whole, the card is kind of underperformed because of that. We're going to put it in a 2. But in the best case scenario, it's just 1 extra resource per turn. Yeah, for getting the clues. Like, you get the clues, and it's like, so like now, like, for example, it's you get the clue, you get the resource, right? So, like, now, every time you get your clue once per round, you're getting your economy, right? So it's like, that best case scenario is actually pretty good, right? Like, that 1 resource a turn is actually pretty good. Yeah, it's free money. Like, I think if you can't see why just money for advancing the game is good, then you need to check your analysis on the game. Oculus Mortem. Drowned City's not a great set, is it? 3-cost asset takes up a hand slot, uses 0 evidence. As a reaction, if you seal, cancel, or ignore a chaos token, exhaust Oculus Mortem, place 1 evidence on it. As a reaction, when an enemy attacks an investigator location, spend 1 evidence and exhaust Oculus Mortem. Discover 1 clue your location. If that enemy has the Geist trait, deal 1 damage to it. It's crazy that this card doesn't hurt Geists, right? Like, there are so many Geists that this card just, like, doesn't fuck with, right? Yeah, like, why does the top and bottom exhaust? It's a little bit strange. Yeah, like, I feel like the top one is good to exhaust. I don't see why the bottom one does, because then you can't do both on the same turn. This card is just, like, it's flavorfully very cool, right? Like, I think, like, the Fatal Frame sort of idea behind it is very nice. But I think this card is actually kind of just, like, stinky. Honestly? No. I saw someone use this to all-right effect for just, like, if you get rid of that trinket text, the little kicker at the bottom, where, it's, you ignore the deal 1 damage, but turn all enemy attacks into clues, right? Like, that is something that actually can kind of do something with a few hoops, but you definitely need to, kind of, like, build around it as a table as opposed to, like, just bring it to an event or, like, a group. And I think that's a little bit unfortunate. This is a very bottom-heavy 0. This is kind of crazy. Uncanny Specimen, 1-cost asset, Myriad Fast. Up to 3 Uncanny Specimens take up to 1 Arcane slot. As a reaction, when a Skull, Cultist, Tablet, or Squid is revealed during a skill test your location, discard Uncanny Specimen. Cancel that Chaos token, and reveal a new one. If this test is successful, draw 1 card. Yeah, Circle Undone has the most Geist enemies. Carcosa has some, but I think Carcosa, like, it doesn't hurt the Carcosa ones. This card actually has quite a few number of homes in it, where it's has a few little, like, neat tricks where this can really pop up. I really like it in Norman Withers, because it's free in his deck if it's on the top. You can just, like, play it for 0 and just, like, put it into play, and I think that's a pretty cool gameplay loop. However, with all of that said, most of the time, the gameplay loop I've seen with Uncanny Specimen is that someone draws one of these symbol tokens, and like a good Arkham player in Legacy, they're like, I've passed. please don't make me draw another token. I've already passed the test, right? Like, I could see a universe that this card would probably be a little bit more impactful if it said, if this test is successful, the performing investigator draws one card. So you cancel the key even if you pass to just draw the card. So you're using this as like... So what you're saying to Stude is you're using this more for the cantrip effect than just... You're using this as a cantripping effect as opposed to token protection. I can see that being the case. I can see that being the case. And maybe that is the correct play pattern, where it's just like this card exists to cantrip. I can definitely see that being a good use of the card. I think this card is good, though. I'm going to put it in 3. I think this card is actually legitimate. I've played it quite a bit. It goes in a lot of my decks, and I do upgrade out of it, but like it is... But canceling the token is good. Is it good if it means you pass the test? That's what now I'm confused, because I feel like if it is a bad one... Well, yeah, you know, that is good, but like most of the time it isn't, right? Like most of the time it's just like -3. And you're like, I've passed. In that case, it's just like, I'm actually curious in this theory that you're saying where you use this more for the cantripping side of the card, where you just like stop, you play it, and then the next token that comes, you say, this uncanny specimen is something new. I think that that's an interesting thing to try to explore. But I think the reality in Legacy is just that it's too easy to just beat all the tokens, so uncanny specimen doesn't really do anything. But then again, if I change my perspective to what if this is just cantripping, I'm kind of intrigued. Correlate all its contents. 1 cost event. Investigate. You may cancel the first chaos token, reveal this skill test, return the bag, and reveal a new one. If you succeed a skill test, place 1 charge or secret on an asset controlled by an investigator. If you succeed by exactly 1 or 3, place 2 charges or secrets on that asset instead. I think this card is legitimately good. I'm going to give this a 3. I think this card is actually... every time I've seen this card played, it's very impressive. Like, I think that this card is actually just, like, I think it's just good. I think it's just a good card. It's a very nice option in level 0 decks to get clues and also refill secrets, or charges, mind you. And then it kind of like either scales up with the assets that are getting secrets and charges, or it's like replaced with another card that's like similar but just gives more secrets or charges. I think it's actually a very impressive card. I've always been like, it does a lot with very little, and I think that's a really nice place for this to be. I think it's a good card. On to the rogue class here. How's it going, Time Roller? Luger! 2 cost, hand slot, uses 2 ammo as a lightning bolt, exhaust the Luger and spend 1 ammo. Fight, you get +1 fist for this attack. As an action, spend 1 resource, replenish all ammo on Luger PO8, and ready it. This card is fun. I think that this is a very fun design for a rogue weapon. And rogues are now smarter than guardians because they can reload a weapon without returning it to their hand. I think that this just has like everything that you want in a weapon. It's like has a nice limit where like it's not dealing extra damage, but because it's fast, it's kind of like dealing extra damage. It's good for like ammo synergy cards, albeit I haven't seen anyone use it for that effect, because like maybe the problem with the ammo synergy events is not that they required ammo to use, but more for the fact that they were kind of just bad in the first place, right? I think that that's a nice little thing. I think it has the rogue gun problem where like the best user of the card just happens to be Tony Morgan, because he is just like so damn good at what the rogues are for fighting because they're designed for everybody but him. So he always just sticks his head in and be like, sorry, was this card designed for me? I want it. Give it, give it, give it. Obviously works really well with Michael McGlynn as well. I think I'm torn between 3 and 3.5. My gut says 3. But I think it's very good, but I think it is just good. I'm going to give it a 3. Robert Castaigne, level 0, 4 cost. Soaks for 2 and 2, you get +1 fist. As an action, discard a firearm asset that takes up 1 or fewer hand slots from your hand and exhaust Robert Castaigne. Resolve a fight ability on that asset, ignoring all costs. This does not provoke attacks of opportunity. The level 0 version isn't great. We know the upgraded version is powerful because he breaks the laws of the English language, but we'll talk about him in a few weeks. But the level 0 version is definitely not the one that you want until the end. Like, most of the time when I'm playing a Robert Castaigne deck, I actually, like, start with Lonnie Ritter, right? And then I upgrade into Robert, just because, like, Robert and Lonnie are kind of the exact same thing. It's just that Lonnie has, like, what, 3 horror as opposed to 2, right? So, like, there is that extra little thing. And I think because of that, I'm hard-pressed to, like, ever even consider running Robert Castaigne. I'd probably put Lonnie in a 3. Would I put Robert in a 3? I don't think so. I think Robert is a tier below Lonnie because I always choose to play Lonnie. At least the level 0 version. Obviously, the upgraded version is very, very powerful. I do like the Robert Castaigne George Barnaby. That sounds like a fun little mess of a deck that I would love to bring to a game day. That sounds like a great time. Like, the effect is good, but I think that the reality is that it's kind of like the Remington, where if you want a fist boost as a combat rogue, you have better options at level 0. So Robert Castaigne 0 kind of just, like, falls to the wayside. Like, if I'm playing Skids, I'm grabbing Lonnie or, like, Beat Cop, right? Because it's, like, the exact same thing. And I know you might be thinking, but if it's the exact same thing, isn't the card good enough? But both Lonnie and Beat Cop have relevant text on them that makes it so that you actually want to use the ability. Honestly, I think the level 0 Robert Castaigne, his action ability could have been a lightning bolt, and he probably would have been okay, right? Because you still are discarding the thing. Like, I don't know. Level 0 Robert Castaigne, he's fine. He's not good. He's not bad. He's just a perfect 2.5. String Along. As a reaction, 3 cost talent. As a reaction, when you attempt to evade an enemy, exhaust String Along. For this evasion attempt, you get +1 skill value and that enemy gains alert. If you succeed, draw 1 card and do not disengage from that enemy. Is anyone else playing String Along in their deck and knowing they have to use it for every evade and then, like, feeling scared every time they do it, ultimately getting out of it okay, except for maybe one evade action in which they are attacked by an auto fail, and then they get that exact same kind of, like, fear put in them, but it's, like, heightened, and then they slowly get that sense of security to do it, and then they get the auto fail again, and then it goes up, and it's like that gameplay loop. I feel like that's pretty common with String Along. I also can't tell you how many times I played this card, and I like it when I would, like, play digitally and just out of muscle memory, I'd evade an enemy and put it on my location, and then someone I was playing with being like, you know that's engaged with you, right? And I'm like, yes, I know, I just have fucking, muscle memory issues. That's just, I play too quickly. Give me a second, I would have realized it in one round when I was like, oh, this guy would be engaged with me anyway. I think it's a good card, right? Like, it's definitely at least a 3. I'm debating on a 3.5. I agree, it's like, it does feel like slightly too expensive, but it is a good way to turn your evade actions into economy. Drawing cards is very good. Most of the time it's free. It's a bit scary when, like, I think I made some mistakes when I would build with String Along when I first started playing it, where I was like, oh, String Along gives me +1 agility, +1 foot. I don't need to increase my foot in other ways. And it turns out that's not the way to do it, because then you get an enemy with like 4 evade, and you're like, what do you mean I'm only at 5? What do you mean I'm only at 5, right? And I think that that was just like some user error on my part, right? I do agree, dragging the enemies around is very good. I think I'm going to give this a 3.5. I think it is a very good card. I need to play it again, though, in a deck where I'm building around my foot as opposed to just, like, using this to boost it a little bit. Where's the party? Well, it's here at PBG every Tuesday live on Twitch and YouTube at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Zero cost event, Where's the Party? Trick improvised. Parlay, search the encounter deck and discard pile for a non-elite enemy and spawn it exhausted and engage with you. Draw cards equal to that enemy's combined damage and horror values. Good card. Use it to fish out victory enemies, everybody. And I know someone is getting ready to type a comment to me being, hey, victory enemies are elite. Not always true. In every campaign, or mostly every campaign, there's usually a non-elite enemy that with victory that is in the encounter deck, and you can fish it out and play it with Where's the Party, and that is a very good way of drawing a bunch of cards and getting victory for the team in a way that doesn't feel unfair like some of the other victory options are. Where's the Party kind of says victory 1 in my mind. And that's a really nice effect. And yes, the fact that it enters exhausted is huge. It's like, that cannot be overstated. That was ultimately my problem with kicking the Hornet's Nest, is the rate on it was a little bit bad, because unless you had a way to actively solve that enemy, there was no point in playing the card, right? And I think that that means that the card actually was more limited in scope, but I think that anybody can play Where's the Party. Most elites are victory, but honestly, most victory dudes aren't elite. Exactly, that's very true. It's very true. Like, that's, Dice Gods knocked it out of the park again. Good for Keimani? Yeah, good for Keimani. Keimani can kill it, assuming it's one that you don't want to put into the victory display because of victory. I think I'm going to put this in a 3.5. I think it's a legit card. I think it's legit. You've had worse. Zero cost, favor, fast. Play when investigate location or connected location is dealt damage and or horror. That investigator may spend up to 3 resources. For each resource spent, that investigator cancels 1 damage or 1 horror just dealt. So I was very down on this card. I was very down on this card last year when I talked about it. I was like, I see no time to play this card. I think it's poo-poo caca. I think that it makes me, like, want to, like, like KMS, if I imagine myself playing with it. And it's one of those things where it's just like, I just saw no value in it. I think I gave it a 1. I might have given it a 1 or a 1.5. However, I actually saw this played to good effect. Like, I don't think the card's good. I still don't think the card's, like, good. But I definitely think I underrated it in the last one of these. Where I think that it's, like, a fine method in higher player counts. Like, a lot of my initial ratings start at 2-player, because the vast majority of my games are playing 2-player, right? That's just like where I sit for my initial assessments on cards. And then Bryn brought this in his Michael McGlenn deck when we did our Drowned City run. And just being able to him be like, hey, you have 3 resources. Do you want to pay that to Ward of Protection? this Rotting Remains, and I'm like, yeah, I actually would love to do that. And you know what? I'm actually going to just spend 2 because that'll just take 1 horror, right? Played with the Harvey team, you can play away his heart attacks. Yeah, like I think the card is legit. It's... I'm gonna put it in 2.5. That's a big upgrade on that one. If I made list videos to the rate that I did back in 2025, I would definitely have said this was a card I was wrong about. And you know, maybe I could now that I'm making these power ranking videos, but I think I was definitely wrong about You've Had Worse. And that's why I do these videos, is to, like, my initial assessment, I can learn a lot from them for future assessments. And even though I think that, like, overall my analysis and assessment is pretty good on first glance, there's always room for improvement. And I think You've Had Worse was some of my room for improvement analysis there. Bum's Rush, 2-cost event, evade, add your fist value to your skill value for this evasion attempt. You succeed by 2 or more, deal that enemy 1 damage. If that enemy is non-elite, you may move it to a connecting location. Alright, chat, raise your hand. Who thinks that this was error in formatting, and the line of text where if that enemy is non-elite, you may move it to a connecting location was, in theory, attached to the line before it, where if you succeed by 2 or more. Raise your hand if you think that happened, because I definitely think that happened. I think this card is a legit option. I think I was pretty positive on it in the past as well. And, like, it was tabooed to be, like, what, 1 XP now is, like, the thing. It's one of those things where, like, it's, yeah, like, I understand, like, I think, like, the format, where, no, I don't think it was misprinted. I think misprint implies that there is a misprinting on the card. I think that this is just a formatting error, right? Where they just didn't follow the formatting that they should have. It could have been it should have been a then, as Dice Gods is saying. It should have been like a, regardless if this pass, like, or so, like, if this test is successful, like, so it's like, add your fist to your value. If this test is successful, you may move that enemy to a non-location, and if you succeed by 2 or more, deal that enemy 1 damage, right? Like, that would have been, like, the way to format this, I think, to fit with the thing. However, beyond that as well, beyond, like, the formatting issues and all that, I do think this card is a nice thing, a nice option. Anything that compresses ways, like, it compresses actions in the way that rogue events do, is always very good. I'm going to put this one in the 3.5. And honestly, thank you, Rogue Class, for putting some fucking spice into your player cards in this set. I was kind of dooming Drown City, but we're looking at a pretty alright flop of cards here for Rogue so far. The Rogues are representing, and there's no way it's going to suddenly get much, much worse, right? Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Intimidation. Parlay. Choose an enemy or location and test Fist X, where X is the chosen enemy's remaining health. If you succeed, shuffle that enemy in the counter deck or deal 2 damage to it instead if it is elite. This card's just like none of the text on this card is bad, right? None of the text on this card is bad, but, like, that number in the top left is pretty high. Like, doesn't this, like, so, like, the thing I'm a bit confused about is, doesn't this card exist in Seeker at 2 resources? Like, doesn't this card kind of just, like, pretty much almost 1-to-1, but it's just, like, a different test, right? It's like Book instead. Yeah. Yeah, it's just that 3 cost. That 3 cost really hurts it. Yeah, and I think that, like, yeah, rogues have the resources to pay for it, but the fact that this exists in Seeker at 2, it's kind of the things where it's like, why would I want to? And, like, the test can be very high because it's always the remaining health. We're gonna put this in the 1.5. I wouldn't be, like, bothered if someone pulled this out and played with it, but it's one of those things where, I don't know, the card's just bad, man. That's a bad card. Crack Shot. It's a practice skill in the rogue class, 3 wilds, committal into a skill test from an ability printed on a firearm or ranged asset. This is like the definition of fine, right? Like, you have this in your level 0 deck to help fight the boss of the first scenario, and then you take it out in, like, scenario 2 or 3. You just upgrade it into, like, a better card that's more impactful. There's nothing good with Crack Shot. There's nothing bad with Crack Shot. It's just, like, perfectly fine, right? Like, that's just nice. Alright, on to Blood of Thoth, which always triggers my ARKHAM Boomer response, which is like, when there was the, everyone was like, Blood of Thoth bad, lol 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 lol. I was like, you fuckers haven't been around to see the real bad cards from back in the day, have you? I just felt like, it just triggers like my ARKHAM Boomer response. It's like, you guys don't stop. You don't know a real bad card. But yeah, Blood of Thoth ain't good. It's not good. Let's read the card. I actually don't even know what the taboo version does, to be real with all of you. I should probably pull it up quickly. Blood of Thoth, 2 cost, accessory. When one or more doom is placed on a card you control, exhaust Blood of Thoth. Place 1 resource on this card from the token pool as an offering. As a lightning bolt, if Blood of Thoth has 3 or more offerings, remove all offerings from Blood of Thoth and exhaust it. Choose an investigate location to immediately take an action as if it were their turn. Okay. Let's look up the taboo. I generally rate on, like, the text on the card, but let's see what this is. When doom is placed on a card you control, place 1 resource on this card as an offering. During this investigation, accept an action, spend 2 offerings, choose an investigator at your location to immediately take an action as if it were their turn. Is it a first 1? No, this is not a 1. And do you want to know why it's not a 1? Because it's a level 0 card. It's a level 0 card that does something. Yeah, it does it as a rate that's abysmal, but it's not a 1. Because, like, this card with, like, I understand, like, I mean, like, the 2 or more offerings, so it doesn't exhaust on the top one anymore, which is good. I think that this exhausting on the top thing was a big mistake, and they definitely should have just taken that text off as opposed to do the 2 offerings. I think the 3 offerings is okay. Dice Gods, you would know this. You would know the rules for this. If Amina Zidane plays this card, does it see the Doom come on it so you can exhaust it when it comes into play if Amina plays it? Do you know that rule by chance? You usually know that stuff well. And if you're not here, well, ignore that I said anything. I think it's pretty bad though, right? Like, it's not a good card. We're gonna put it in a 1.5. Yeah, like, the Sin Eater thing is, like, the upgraded, like, sorry, the tabooed version, where it's, like, it doesn't exhaust, is very good with Sin Eater. It's, like, very good with Sin Eater. I think that having, like, a 3, like the 3 and not exhaust is probably good. My gut says no, the when would happen before the card enters play. That makes sense. Yeah, card's pretty bad though, but it does do something. So It's also a level 0 card. Like, you can put in your deck, get 2 actions out of it while getting all the Doom thing, and it's fine, but, like, not impressive. Yeah, moving Doom counts as placing Doom. That's where things, I forgot a better way to explain the when after thing. Think of when equals when you are about to. That is really good. So when you're about to place 1 or more Doom on a card you control. Yeah, no, that does make sense. No, that does make sense. Because then it wouldn't see it. I like that. I don't want to talk about Blood of Thoth anymore, though. Breath of the Sleeper. 3 cost, uses 9 charges as an action fight. Use your will instead of your fist for this test. I've been switching up how I refer to these things on the fly just to annoy the people who are already annoyed by it. Let a man live his life. Before revealing Chaos tokens for this test, you may spend up to 3 charges to reveal that many additional Chaos tokens. Choose one of the revealed tokens to resolve and ignore the rest. If you succeed and the chosen token matches ignored token, this attack deals +2 damage. So these are nice cards, right? Let's honestly talk about these together. Eyes of the Dreamer, 9 charges. Use your will instead of your book for this test. Before revealing Chaos tokens for this test, you may spend up to 3 charges to reveal that many additional Chaos tokens. Choose one of the revealed tokens to resolve and ignore the rest. If you succeed in the chosen token matches an ignored token, discover 1 additional clue at your location. I think these are both just like nice solid 3s, right? I think they're both good at what they do. And I like them for the always on fight or investigate, which I always like to look for with my mystics. It's fun to be able to just like spend the 3 tokens. They can be autofail mitigation. Yeah, because it doesn't actually, like, it doesn't have any sort of restrictions on the tokens you can ignore, which is pretty nuts for level 0, right? Like, it can allow you to, that's pretty good. You can, like, throw in a bunch of skill icons, right? And you use it to just, like, guarantee, like, that the card passes and you get the effects. It's not a bad use for them, for sure. I think they're good, though. I think they don't scale into the endgame in the way that some of the higher experience ones. And I think that's kind of what I look for in like 3 to like 3.5 up, right? Where it's more about we're looking for where are these level 0 cards going to be here in the final scenario, and that kind of really fits for those ones. Good cards though. Just like being able to always investigate is a very powerful thing. I don't want to... I have to face a demon here. Katarina has been on my mind since I did this initial tier list back in 2025. I was very high on Katarina, but I talked myself into her being high in the video. Hey Nathan, how's it going? Oh, was there an auto mod? Did someone say watch this? I need to check. I don't have Twitch chat open here. I have to go over here. Yeah, there's watch this. So, Katarina. 2 cost, 1/2 is a reaction when you reveal Chaos tokens during a skill test you perform and exhaust Katarina. Reveal tokens in the Chaos bag until a token with a symbol is revealed. Resolve that token and ignore the rest. I kind of talked myself into this card. I don't remember what rating I gave it, but I think I maybe gave her like a 3.5 or a 4, and she is not that. She's not bad. She might be better than fine. So like 2.5 is the floor for this and this ally here. I think when I talked myself into her, I think I didn't fall into the gym trap of like, ooh, this card's good in gym, but it was the same sort of philosophy where it's like, ooh, this can help me draw tokens that I want to draw for effects. Like, it increases the odds of, like, oh, I want to see a curse token, I want to see a bless token, I want to see a skull token, I want to see a symbol token, right? Like, well, it guarantees a symbol token, but it kind of like, it kind of just, I kind of fell into that, like, value where it's like, oh, there's, like, this is going to help me find the things that I want to find. But it turns out, even when you put all that together and you're like, ooh, I would like to get this token, sometimes it just doesn't happen, right? Sixth Sense Mateo, yeah, so the Sixth Sense Mateo is good, and I tried it there, right? But I think that all of McBride is just better, right? And it's kind of crazy because, like, this, again, guarantees the symbol token, right? But, like, all of McBride has a higher chance of getting the symbol token that you want in the moment, not just symbol token, right? Things I like about Katarina is that she increases the odds for both the autofail and the Elder Sign, like, kind of like both of those go up, which if one of them goes up, it's okay because the other one's also going up, and it's not bad if the autofail goes up if the Elder Sign also goes up. But I think that it just felt a little bit lacking in some of the control that I thought that she was actually going to have. I still bring her out quite a bit, so I think she is, I'm going to give her a 3. I think she's still a good ally, and she has, like, good decks that really shine for her. But ultimately, I think I was a little bit overhyped, and I'm both curious and a little bit nervous about where I put her last year. The sign, you see, Justin, you're like Nike connecting people. That's the only reason I exist, to be real with you. I was put on this earth to do one thing: bring people together. And talk about Sign of Zelotaph, the symbol of protection. 3-cost asset, takes up the arcane slot. Myriad Seal Skull Cultist Tablet or Squid, uses 3 charges. Force, when your turn begins, you must spend 1 charge or discard Sign of Zelotaph. As a lightning bolt, discard a copy of Sign of Zelotaph from your hand. Replenish all charges on this copy of Sign of Zelotaph. I've only brought this card out once in an all-in sealing deck. I think this is one of the better sealing cards, right? I think that, like, it, I think that it is good at its job. It's like, I like the draw. Like, I like this in, like, Mystics are pretty draw heavy now, in comparison to where they, I mean, maybe they always were, because Jewel of Aureolus came out a long time ago, but that's like a really good draw card in the Mystic class. But it kind of goes against Sign of Zelotaph in some way, but maybe not with the taboo, yada, 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 yada. But I like this one as a way to replenish the charges. It's a very neat design. It's very expensive up front, but they're very scared of ceiling effects, right? I think ultimately, though, like, ceiling effects don't help you win the game. They increase your odds, right? It is fun in Patrice, for sure. She gets to see the other copies very easily, and they're just free to to discard. She has, like, the shuffle her graveyard into her deck things. I think those ceiling effects, again, are kind of just fine. They don't really help you win. They stop you from, like, losing, but that's, again, not really winning, so I'm going to give it a 2.5. I think it's a fine card. The Great Work. Permanent. Limit 1 per deck. Purchase only at deck creation. You earn 1 additional experience after each scenario of this campaign. If you are defeated, you are usurped by the Homunculus. Replace each signature card in your deck with a random basic weakness. Flip this card and replace your Investigator with it for the remainder of the campaign. I was right about this card, and I feel very happy about that. This was one of the ones that I was like, I think I need to figure out, I don't know what my rating for it last year was, but my prediction was that this card was going to be played less in comparison to all of the other XP permanents that Mystic have. And the reason for that is that the downside is ultimately not worth the upside in comparison to the other ones, right? Like, if you compare this to Arcane Research, which gave you just like 2 mental trauma, which the horror is healing is now falling off the trees at this point in Legacy, as it is. It's harder in limited environments, right? And then like you compare this to Down the Rabbit Hole, and that one is like no downside. Like that one's just like pure upside. So it's nice that they designed one of these cards that actually like fit with it. I've seen a few people bring it and then get like, it's actually kind of funny. If I see people bring the great work to campaigns, it's actually kind of fun to see them actually like, I don't know why, but it like increased the odds that they became the homunculus. And that's kind of just funny that it happens. I liked Travis bringing this with the Dexter deck that also ran Obel. So like, I thought that was pretty fun, right? I think overall though, I think this card is, I think it's a 2. I think it's below rate. I wouldn't take it. 7 XP is not worth it for the long form campaigns. 4 XP is not worth it for the short form campaigns. 2 XP is not worth it for the very short form campaigns. I mean, maybe it's, you know what? I'm going to actually go out on a limb and say that this card is worth it in a 3 scenario campaign, but not in a 5 scenario or 8 scenario campaign, which sounds counterintuitive, but I think that is just the way that sometimes the valuation in Arkham can change in ways that the math becomes like non-Euclidean, and this gives you more value with less scenarios, which is kind of funky. Because in that one, the downside is less likely to trigger, but you're more likely to feel the downside of the 2 horror from Arcane Research, which is a very interesting thing to say, right? But yeah, diminishing returns on the XP. Exactly that. I like to make it sound a little bit like, I like to paint it with a brush so that makes it sound a little bit funky, you know? That's just me as the weirdo that I am. I guess you can call me a content creator. That's why. That's the weird part of me. Spectral Shield. This is a 1-cost event in this Spell Spirit. Fast. Play only during your turn. Attached to a player card with health and or sanity at your location. Forced. When attached card takes 1 or more damage in horror, cancel 1 of that damage in horror. The owner of Spectral Shield must remove 1 charge from an asset they control. If they cannot, discard Spectral Shield. This card's good, right? This card's good. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put it. Great damage prevention. Yeah, it was good with Bryn's Red Clock. I liked it in the Diana Stanley deck I was playing, where I would like play it over and over again from underneath me. Was this one changed, Astute? That shows how much I've been paying attention. Spectral Shield. Play only during your turn. How is this one changed? Oh, the first time. Each round. Okay, that's a pretty minor change to how I was playing with it. Holy shit, we got a lot of people watching right now. What the fuck? I'm gonna put this one in the 3.5 tier, I think. I think this is a very good card. I don't think it's great. I don't think this card is a great card, but I think it's very good. I think it has homes where it becomes great, but in the long run, I think that, like, especially in the Mystic class, it's not that hard to not die. And this can be, like, rather than this being a method you need to use to not die, this is one of the many methods you can choose to not die. So I think that, for me personally, that kind of, like, keeps it from being in the great tier for that kind of stuff. I think it's a fun combo card with the right stuff. Like, again, Brandon with the red clock, Diana Stanley. I think there's some cool homes for it. Overall, I think Spectral Shield is actually some really solid design, and I like what they did with it. Whispers of Doom. 3 cost, parlay, choose a non-weakness enemy at your location, and test willpower 3. This test gets plus X difficulty, where X is the enemy's horror value. If you succeed, defeat that enemy, or deal it 3 damage instead if it is elite. If you fail, place 1 Doom on that enemy. I'm not high on effects like this. I understand they have good places, but I think that this card costs a little bit much, and like, to me, my strategy is just like kill it through other methods. Like, I would rather play like Brand of Cthulhu, and then like instead of Whispers of Doom, I'm gonna refill my Brand of Cthulhu, and that's just like a personal preference type thing. I think as a whole, I might have been a bit too low on this card when it came out. I'm gonna put it in the fine tier though. I think it's a fine option for dealing with enemies that you want to just like delete. I think it carries a pretty good risk where like if you fail, you place a Doom on that enemy, right? But I think that this card is less reliable than it seems on the tin, and I would rather, personally for me as a player, go for the reliable options that just I know work and like don't require me to spend the upfront resources that Whispers of Doom provides, because it is a big upfront cost. Alright, on to the Survivor cards here. Look at that. We're seeing the bottom of the list, and we're only like 80 minutes into this video. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Anchor Chain, 3 cost asset. While Anchor Chain is in your hand, you may perform the blow action ability. If you do, discard it instead of exhausting it. As an action, exhaust Anchor Chain, evade. You get +1 foot for this evasion attempt. If you successfully evade a non-elite enemy, you may discard 1 card from your hand to prevent that enemy from readying during the next upkeep phase. So what I really like about this entire cycle, not the book one, is that these cards work very well in their event mode. I think their event mode is a very powerful use of both Anchor Chain and Handhook. We're going to kind of talk about these ones together because they are very similar. Handhook is, while it's in your hand, you may perform the blow action ability. If you do, discard it instead of exhausting it. As an action, exhaust Handhook, fight. You get +1 for this attack. If you succeed, you may discard 1 card from hand to have this attack deal +1 damage. I think that like Anchor Chain, its to play is on rate, right? Like I think it's like good for like on rate, right? The Handhook, not on rate to play, but on rate to the discard if you have other discard synergy with it, right? I think that that's a pretty good like just action. Play this card to fight, discard like a Glimmer of Hope, an improvised weapon, a winging it, right? That's a very good gameplay loop, but this one's not worth playing, right? Like this one's not worth playing, but it is worth discarding. Anchor Chain, worth both discarding and on rate for playing, so just like keeping all that in mind. Handhook probably could have cost 2, and then maybe we're talking, right? We're not talking about nautical charts yet. That is a whole different ballgame that we're going to get to in a bit. I think that Anchor Chain, I'm going to put Handhook in the 2. I'm going to put Handhook in 2. And we're going to put Anchor Chain in 2.5. They're nice cards. They require a lot around them to really make them pop, so that's why I'm lowering them like a little bit here. So just something that we're going to be keeping in mind for those kind of things. Like they're good, but they're not like good by themselves, and sometimes discarding cards, like you kind of, it's better if you build around them to do that function as opposed to just like discarding the good card, like discarding random cards from your hand. It's not the same value as if like you're essentially like discarding them into a secondary hand, which your discard pile is what it is in discard decks. It's a secondary hand. All right. Lawrence Carlisle, 3 cost asset, soaks for 1 and 1. You get +1 book. After you discard 1 or more cards from your hand during your turn, exhaust them and gain 1 resource. Alright. we're going to just look at one line of text on this guy because it's the only line of fucking text that matters in the Survivor class. You get +1 book. Survivors getting that at level 0 is very big. That's very big for the Survivor class. I think we can all agree that in like order of importance for skill boost, book is number 1, fist is number 2, brain is number 3, agility is number 4. Just generally in a vacuum, right? Like just like without like looking at it just in terms of the value that these skill cards, like these things provides, right? But 3 cost for 1 book is huge. It's like, that is like very, very big. I'm echoing what chat's saying there because it's so strong. And survivors, they use 1 book more than like other classes do. Even the Seeker class with the way the legacy card pool is now. And it doesn't seem like that would be the case, but the survivors at this point, there's going to be a video coming out on the channel on Wednesday. By the time that you're watching this on YouTube, next Wednesday, if you're watching this live, where Daniel and I kind of dive into the fact that there might be a problem with the Survivor class in Legacy. Survivor actually might be too good at getting clues in comparison to other classes now, at least at lower player counts, right? Like, in 4 players, I think that Seekers still outpace Survivors, but I argue that in 3 or 2 players, Survivors, I think, have now outpaced the Seeker class in a way that is fundamentally non-Survivor. And I think that Lawrence Carlisle is a piece of this problem. He's not a piece of as much of an issue as the next card we're going to talk about, but I do think that Lawrence Carlisle is a very big piece of the pie that really ups Survivor consistency at level 0, and he does it while providing enough value that he can do this when you don't even play the bottom half of his card. We're going to give him a 4. Okay. Nautical charts. This is... We're not even going to bury the lead. We're just going to put this up in 5. 3 cost asset. While nautical charts is in your hand, you may perform the below action ability. If you do, discard nautical charts instead of exhausting it. As an action, exhaust nautical charts, investigate. You get +1 book for this investigation. If you succeed, you may discard 1 card from your hand to discover 1 additional clue at your location. I think this card was a 4 to a 4.5 for the majority of its release time after Drowned City. If you're using the 0.5 system, why not just a 10-point scale? Well, does it matter? Like, it's just a 10-point scale, right? It's just like, it's the same thing. We're just doing it with 0.5s, right? Like, it's... that's like I definitely understand why you're asking the question, right? Because, like, I get a little bit annoyed when people start adding 0.5s to a 10-point scale, right? But yeah, this is a 10-point. Like, it's a 10-point scale. But it's just with the 0.5s because I think that, like, it comes from movie rating systems, which I really resonate with. So that's kind of like the philosophy behind it. Also, like, 2.5 sounds better than 5 out of 10. I don't know why. It just, like, does mentally. Yeah, I think this card for the majority of its time after Drown release was like a 4 or 4.5. The compression was good, but it wasn't at like a lethal level. But Survivors, especially with Chapter 2, have gotten cards that, in my opinion, kind of shatter what Survivors were before this. Loner is a card that probably should not have been printed in the state that it was printed in, right? For Survivors to get a level 0 Pathfinder is crazy. Like, that's crazy. And it was like that efficiency with the nautical charts meant that like they were going like above and beyond in so many different ways that it kind of like leveled up nautical charts, where now like you're kind of like playing suboptimally. I know a lot of people don't care about playing suboptimally, but this is analysis where we are looking at the optimal way to approach Arkham in terms of these card evaluations. And you are kind of playing suboptimally if you're a survivor without nautical charts. Note, I did not say a clue-getting survivor without nautical charts. I legitimately think that you are playing suboptimally if you are not a survivor with nautical charts in play in your deck. I did not believe this before I did this Silas Carson run through the Forgotten Age, but that Silas deck was probably one of the most unfair decks that I played beyond the Amanda deck that I played in the Circle Undone with Daniel ages ago, right? It's one of those things where while we were winning the game quickly, and I was also not failing any tests in the process. There's just so much efficiency packed into the Survivor class and Legacy that nautical charts at this point now is just like you can't ignore its power. And I agree with what you're saying there, Rustage. This does feel like this was a card designed for a certain investigator and didn't really consider the ramifications for the class as a whole. I think that's a very apt statement, and I think that's a very true statement in regards to nautical charts. Insane card. And we keep the insane cards going. Profane Idol, 1-cost asset. It can only be played from your discard pile. When it is defeated, shuffle it into your deck instead of discarding it. It's a fun card. I think it's fine. I think like these soak from your discard pile cards are kind of very cute and very fun. I think there's a lot of use cases for them. I think they're a little bit more versatile than they seem on the tin. I think it's a totally fine option for your ability to like get soak in a discard deck. Catch, and honestly we're gonna also do unconventional method at the same time here. So these are 0 cost events. They commit for the double icon that they're boosting with the ability, and as additional cost to play both of them, you choose and discard an item mass that takes up 1 hand slot from your hand or play area. Evade, on catch, you get plus X foot for this evasion attempt, where X is the chosen asset's printed resource cost. If you succeed against a non-elite enemy and that asset was in your play area, that enemy is not ready during the next upkeep phase. And then we have unconventional method, where you get plus X book for this investigation, where X is the chosen asset's printed resource cost. If you succeed and that asset was in your play area, discover an additional clue your location. The design philosophy, hey, we need to add clue compression, is the core problem. Anything that isn't very gated on uses that can really get 1 clue per action is going to be broken quick. Agree 100%. I do like the slight shift we've seen in Chapter 2, where a lot of the clue compression is now at a connecting location as opposed to just your location, which implies now that you're going to have to be doing a little bit more movement before you get your full clue compression, which I think might slow it down a little bit, but poses a similar, if less lethal risk. And then they generally undervalue clue-getting cards when they design cards because you can think outside the game's scope. Finding clues on a secret cult is easier to straight up finding the mythos, but it doesn't translate that well to the game when monsters are at the end goal, but only a nuisance on the way. 100%. And it's a shame when clue-getting cards in a cycle outpace combat cards, because I think combat is something that should be rewarded more than clue-getting. All right. Speaking of that, in this cycle, Act of Desperation is the good one. This is finishing out the Act of Desperation cycle with unconventional method and the catch. I think catch is below rate. We're going to put that in the 2.0. And I think unconventional method is a fine card. It's not a good card, but it's certainly just kind of fine. So we're going to just put that there to kind of just like compensate that for this. I don't have too much to say about these cards, but generally the payoff for these cards aren't worth the assets, and they aren't really worth like the bonus that comes with them. I think that like Active Desperation was too good, and it ultimately made Unconventional Method a little bit too weak. Keep your eyes open. There might be a card of the week where this comes out on the channel, and it's talked about in further detail there. And then we have our last Survivor card, Contemplative. You may commit Contemplative to an investigation or skill test or in a parlay attempt at your location or connecting location. If this test is successful, the performing investigator discovers one clue at their location. I think that this is a great card. It's probably a 4, right? I don't think it's necessarily a staple. In the way that some other cards are. I think so. I think that, like, Contemplative, if this is gonna, like, Deduction I'd probably put in, like, a 4 or 4.5. But I think that, Contemplative got worse when nautical charts became more ubiquitous, right? Because I think that, like, the true Survivor experience should now always be Flex and always run nautical charts. And in which case, you don't need to run Contemplative as much because every card in your deck is Contemplative, right? So that means that you don't need to run Contemplative anymore because every card in your deck has a secondary function of being Contemplative. So it's one of those things where it's not as much of a necessity to run Contemplative to get it done, but I still think it is a great card. Alright, we have Aesthetic, campaign mode only, permanent limit 1 per deck, purchase only at deck creation. When you purchase this card, gain 10 experience. For the remainder of the campaign, you cannot earn experience. I'm not a fan of the design of this card. I understand why the designers made it, because, you know, it's fun to kind of explore those, I know it can be fun to kind of explore these, like, spaces with these cards, right? I think that I'm going to give this a 2. The major use case for Aesthetic is you bring this into like when your investigator is killed and you need a new one, you can just be like, I'll just take Aesthetic to just get some experience, right? I do love the idea of bringing this card into like a 3 scenario campaign and just taking Aesthetic and in the thick of it and being like, yeah, but maybe I was only going to earn 13 XP as a Survivor anyway, so I'm gonna rock with it. Is it good in Dream Eaters? No. In the first scenario in Dream Eaters, you can easily get 10 XP. Like the Dream Eaters, it's only a 4 scenario campaign, so you get like you'll get more from that in the first 2 scenarios. So like, don't take it in Dream Eaters. I'm gonna be honest. I think the case for taking Aesthetic is null. Like, I think the only use case is what Necrotoaster said, where you use it on a replacement investigator. But even then, I think the design on this card is ultimately unhealthy. Short Rest. It's a 1-cost mirrored event. Heal 1 damage or horror for an investigator location. As a reaction after investigator location, play Short Rest. Play another Short Rest from your hand, paying its cost. I love the art on this card. I love the art on this card. The art on this card is something I love. I think the art on this card is great. This card is dookie. If you bring this, I will question why you are bringing this. I do not think that this card, this is to me is the like one of the few ones in this set. I think this card is kind of just like, it does so little, and it demands like, what is that, 10% of your deck, right? You get 30 cards in your deck and you're gonna really put like 10% of it, like 10% of your cards you're gonna waste on Short Rest, right? It's just like, it's so bad. This card is so bad. Do not play this card. Like, I see the fantasy of paying 3 to heal 3, but like, just don't. Don't, trust me. Just pay like a, take a mid rest, like a medium rest. Give a bit more time. Like, I understand it's a neutral card and it's supposed to be bad, and, like, I see the fun in it, right? But, like, yeah, no, this is just, not it. Not it. And the last card that we have here is Confidence. For each additional Chaos token revealed during the skill test, even if it was cancelled or ignored, Confidence gains a wild to a maximum of +3 wild icons. This card's interesting because I've seen so many people look at it and they're like, oh, I could play this. And then they're like, no, wait, it's bad. It's shit. It's so bad. I think I'm going to put this in the 1.5 as well. I never played this, so it could be pretty good with stuff like Olive. But, like, I agree, Dice Gods. It could be really good with Olive. But you know what's also really good with Olive? Promise of Power, Blood Curse, right? Like, that's like one of those things where, yeah, this one doesn't have the downside, but, like, you also can play those cards without Olive in play. And I think that's kind of just like what pushes Confidence down into the bin for me. All right. Nice job. Honestly, it did kind of make itself up at the end. It's fine for one wild commit slop decks when you commit left. No, it's not. In Holy Helicopter, no, it's not. It's not. You can find better cards to commit in your class than just playing Confidence. Like, even if you have 20 skill cards in Legacy, do not fuck with Confidence. This card, you know what? For that statement, I'm putting this in the 1. Holy Helicopter. I think this card is unplayable. You just convinced, you made me angry. Like, you made me angry, like, as if I saw someone play this on a game day. I'd be like, what? Like, in my mind, I'd be like, I'd say, like, all right, cool, all right, let's see how this goes. In my mind, I'd be like, get me out of here! Get me out of here! All right, let's see how these compare into our rankings from last year. This is where the things get fun. All right, chat. I can't see you right now. I guess I can slide this over here. Is this a good way of doing this? All right. Okay, Crowbar. I put it in a 2.5, so it went down 0.5 for me last year. Chat diff, we're going to figure out later. What's the next one? Remington. I put that in a 2 from a 3. That's a big drop from last year, down a whole point there. Prime for Action, I gave a 1.5. I gave it a... No, that's Book of War. Oh, thank God. I mean, I didn't do much better. Prime for Action, I gave a 3 last year, so that's pretty big. Book of War, I think I gave a 3 again, too. Yeah, I gave a 3 to Book of War, so it's down 0.5. All my initial hype rankings have gone down for some perspectives as well for every set. Ready for Anything, I gave a 2 to this year, a 2.5 last year, so I generally consider like a 0.5 difference to be what I consider to be like a correct thing, not like a perfect thing, but it's like close enough on that one. Hard Boiled, I gave a 2.5, it's a 1.5. Somehow even less good than I thought it was going to be. And then those are our Guardian cards here. On to Seeker. Alton O'Connell was a 2.5. Nailed that one from last year. Artistic Inspiration from a 3.5 to a 4. So we were a little bit down on that one, but still close enough. Dial of Ancients, I gave a 2. Probably talked myself into it again last year, like I did last. I was just like, it could be this. I'm like, wait a minute, it's actually kind of bad, isn't it? Or it's like, there's no reward. So, Forensics Kit, I gave a 2. Nailed it. We called that one a snail. Mortar and Pestle, I gave a 2 from a 2.5, so went down a little bit. Oculus Mortem went from a 2 to a 1.5. That's a pretty damning situation there. It wasn't good, but it was somehow even less good. Uncanny Specimen, 3 and 3, so that's cool. That's cool. And then Correlate All Its Contents went from a 2.5 to a 3. All right. I did better on Seeker than I did on Guardian for the predictions from the last year. Why does Guardian have less cards? That's crazy. Alright, the Luger, I gave a 3. And I gave it a 3 last year, so we nailed that. Robert Castaigne is a 2.5. I gave him a 3. And again, I think that makes sense with everything we've seen from him. Again, it's just like, why play Robert 0 when you can just play other stuff instead? String Along, we gave a 3.5 from a 3. I think that's fair. Where's the Party was a 3.5 and a 3.5. You've Had Worse. I gave it a 1.5 up to a 2.5. Good job. So far, our biggest difference was Prime for Action. I was out to lunch on that one. Bums Rush, I gave a 3. It's a 3.5. Intimidation, I gave a 2 down to a 1.5, because generally I think, like, when they're bad and then I don't see anybody play them, that's usually what causes them to fall down even more. I gave Crackshot a 2.5, and it remains a 2.5. Nailing it, nailing it. Blood of Thoth, I gave a 1. I went up to a 1.5, which is kind of crazy. I think maybe I don't know, I actually don't know why that happened. I don't know how this went up to a 1.5. I wish I could change it in retrospect, but no, that's fine. Breath of the Sleeper, I gave a 2. And I gave Eyes of the Dreamer a 3, but they're both 3s. I think that the Breath of the Sleeper is probably still slightly below rate Eyes of the Dreamer, but I think they both function very same. Okay, I only gave Katya a 3.5. I thought I gave her a 4, and honestly, that was haunting me all year. I could take a 3.5 and being a little bit above from last year. I thought I gave her a 4, and I was like, I'm in fucking hell. I'm like, I'm going to be so embarrassed. So the only one I'm embarrassed right now is for Prime for Action. I think I was really looking at that economy part without seeing that the card was actually pretty terrible. Sign of Zelotaph, I gave a 2 to a 2.5. The Great Work, I gave a 2.5 down to a 2. Whispers of Doom, I gave a 2.5. Nailed that one. Oh, no, that's Spectral Shield. This one's Whispers of Doom. Spectral Shield, I gave a 3.5 to... Oh, that one I was pretty mid on. I gave that one a 2.5. So that one's a full increase. That's interesting. You love to see it, folks. You love to see it. All right. Anchor Chain was a 2.5 from a 3. I think that's fair. I was a little bit above. Handhook went to a 2. So stayed the same. Those ones were good. Sorry, what's next? Lawrence Carlisle, I gave him a 4, a 3.5. Nautical Charts, I gave a 3.5 to a 5, so that's a big increase. Profane Idol, I think I gave a 2.5 to, right? I gave it a 2 last time. Yeah, I think Brennan Travis convinced me that it's pretty okay. I gave Catch a 2 from a 2.5, and I gave Unconventional Method, was it a 2.5? Yeah, from a 3.5, so it was a bit high on Unconventional Method. Contemplative, I gave a 4, and I have a 4 again. Nailed it. And then we have the neutrals. Aesthetic, I gave a 2. Short Rest, I gave a 1. And then Confidence, I gave a 1. Okay. Well, it's always fun to fill this, the hype ranking in. Do you guys want me to chat? Do you guys want me to do one for the core and the investigator decks? You can let me know if you're watching in Twitch or YouTube chat. And also if you want to see me do this for for investigator decks and the core, let me know in the YouTube comments as well. But in the meantime, that is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed this. I might make this image available. I don't know if I usually do that. But in the meantime, If it is available, you can check the video description. Otherwise, thanks for watching, everybody. I'll be back in a few weeks to do the XP cards, and then a few weeks after that to do the specialist cards, as we look back and we answer the question, so how strong was the Drowned City? And right now, apart from a few absolute bangers, it's looking like it's not that strong. Thanks for watching, and as always, a GG's.